What is going on, everybody? Red Pimple Recon here today, and you already know, if I'm still Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that means this chapter was the pinnacle of the peak, and that it was. That it was, ladies and gentlemen, to the point to where I have to clarify, this is the official Afterthoughts for this week's chapter. We uploaded a ramble that I recorded on Thursday morning and was not able to get up until Saturday, to get it uploaded on the channel until Saturday. This chapter was just that good. This chapter was just that gas. Where Shanks using a divine departure, Blackbeard pulling up to Egghead. It's Final Saga Oda. It's Final Saga Oda on his grill cooking at 450 degrees Fahrenheit to the point to where every single meal is better than the last one, which scares me that anything could be better than what we experienced last night. And I know we're going to be experiencing stuff better than what we experienced last night, man. My belief in Oda tells me so. I feel it in my veins. And so I was like, you know what? When we sit down to do the official Afterthoughts, I need at least an hour to myself for the comment section part of the video. And so I'm actually recording this after the comment section point of the video. Last night, instead of watching the anime episode, which I'm going to watch next week with the next episode, do a double reaction, since it is going to, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that those two episodes are going to be covering the entirety of chapter 1030. I was like, it'll be better if I watch them together. And plus, I was like, you know what? For this chapter in particular, I need all the time in the world. I only had an hour allocated on Saturday night, to watch the anime episode. So I was like, you know what? Instead of watching the episode this week, I'm going to do the Afterthoughts. And so last night, which you're going to see here in a little bit when we go into the comment section portion of the video, I did the comments, and we got a lot of comments and a lot of great theories. It was a great overall discussion. Y'all brought your A game in regards to all the possibilities that could potentially take place here in the future of Egghead Island. But before we get into that, there is a special reaction I wanted to do here. I have a piece of animation here that has one of the rawest titles ever given to a piece of animation. It's called DragonFlow Z, episode 1. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. And so this is, of course, being done by my boy JKD Animator. It's going to be my first exposure to DragonFlow Z, and I wanted to have this be done on the Afterthoughts to expose it to all of you who are watching this as well, right? So that we can all see the greatness that we're going to be getting here. And it's going to be J. Cole versus Lil Baby. So this should be very, very interesting, combining anime and rap like this. So without further ado, let's go, man. Once again, a massive shout out to JKD Animator. And let's see what my boys got in store for us. Here we go, y'all. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that Mark? Not Jermaine Cole. Conquers Hockey? Is that the Roger Whitebeard clash? Oh, no, that's heat. Shout out to RDC World, man. I love those guys. Mark got sent flying by J. Cole and Lil Baby's Conquers Hockey. You can't make this up. Trying to get to Gotencho. Is that Zoro's Dragon Twister? Tatsumaki? Change the color of the environment like he's Broly. That's fire. You know when you arrive in the gear second pose, you're ooh. That's how you know they're boxing for real. Straight up Luffy vs. Kaido episode 1026 style, where they're just in the air, pa 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 pa, Dragon Ball Z style. J. Cole with a Sharingan? Roger Whitebeard! Nah, that's heat. That is heat. And someone stopped it? Who came in between Roger and Whitebeard? Cole and Baby. My bus pass. Yo, this man has got to be Roger. For real. With a Raiden hat. Look at him. The Grand Master of the school. Not Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang. That's fire. That's fire. That's got to be Rox Diesebek, bro. Lord RZA. Dude. This man recreated the Roger Whitebeard clash and had someone intercepted. Dude is without question bare minimum. Bro. Roger Whitebeard couldn't even touch when they attempted their clash. Tell me, someone coming in between that? They've got to be on unforeseen levels. You feel me? That has to be an individual that, like, legendary Super Saiyan Broly was out here changing the color of the atmosphere when they transformed. That's the type of individual that they show up at the end of every single video game opening like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. You feel me? Yo, this dude came up in like it was Pirate King Luffy. Only person I could ever see squeezing themselves in between an individual like Roger and Whitebeard coming in for a clash where they can't even touch. Only Pirate King Luffy. Pirate King Luffy is getting in between that to be like, yo, calm down. Calm down. You feel me? And so, no, that was fire, man. That was absolutely fire. It's a lot of references all around the board. Dragon Ball, loved the Naruto stuff there, and then, of course, the Conqueror's Hockey Clash, man. You had to be there. Straight up sights of Luffy versus Katakuri taking place. In the entire environment changing, right? Even when with Zoro's Tatsumaki being popped off there, the Getsuga Tenshos from a boy Ichigo, I was like, no, this is crazy. This is crazy. So I'm glad that we had the opportunity here to react to this because it was definitely a lot of fun, man. Coming up next, we will be discussing the chapter for the insanity that was 1079. I'll see y'all then. It is time to read some comments for Peak Peace, Zenith Peace, Divine Departure Peace, 1079. I still can't believe it, man. I can't believe that the captain of Rockstar, Gap, Hongo, Building Snake, Monster, aka the Monkey, Bonk Punch, Lime Juice, Yasop, Lucky Roo, both on his health plan and not on his health plan, and Ben Beckman, affiliated with Dorian Broggy, father of Uta, that this man came up in there like swimwear and delivered a divine departure. Oh, I'm eating good on this day. I am eating good on this day, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to read some comments. I just had to get it off my chest. And starting this off with the hype, man, there are so many comments. Gold Slash comes in and says, yo, coach, I damn near needed the same medication Trunks gave Goku. The way my heart was jumping. What a chapter. I feel you, man. Shanks the God King. The one-armed bandit is flexing in real time. Real time! I've waited almost 15 years to see this greatness. And it was worth it. Divine departure, beyond peak, goat, raw, and fire. I couldn't have said any better myself. With all the Marine ships coming to Egghead, perfect chance for Mihawk to show out too. Cross Guild shows up. Crocodile helps Luffy escape with another Marine/WG incident. Impel down a Marine Fort already. Last thought, Buggy's luck is so crazy, he ends up getting his Seraphim S clown. Buggy getting his Seraphim S clown in the midst of all this. I need Buggy to get a massive W. Alright, we talked about this in the stream, but I think that what this chapter is going to set us up for is all of the current emperors having an insane feat in terms of their thing within the One Piece verse, right? Like Blackbeard, we're about to see his opportunistic, straight up anything at all costs demeanor, desire, all of it at the forefront, right? Like Blackbeard at his most devious, at his most just prime rated R superstar edge. We're about to see Blackbeard shine to the highest degree. Whether he's here on Egghead or not, we're gonna see opportunistic Blackbeard shining at the very top. Monkey D, Goat with a Coat Luffy is about to do something crazy. I don't care if it's punching Sanjay Garcia. I don't care if it's knocking like half of the fleets that are incoming for the 100 battleships. If he knocks like half of them out with his Conqueror's Log, I don't know what's coming, but something's huge. I feel it. I feel it in my veins. The king is about to go in. And last but not least, Buggy. By affiliation, after what we saw from Shanks in this week's chapter, I am going to assume that Buggy is going to get a massive, massive, massive feat. And therefore, if Buggy is going to get a massive feat, then the individual who is going to do the feat and Buggy's going to get all the credit for is going to be Mihawk and, like you said, potentially Crocodile as well. And so whatever Mihawk and Crocodile do, Buggy's going to get all the credit for. And so I can see a scenario where Mihawk, let's just say, cuts like, I don't know, 25 of those battleships in half, causes them to explode, and everyone thinks it's the Buggy Muggy Ball. Or just something extremely insane, like Crocodile coming up in like swimwear, dries up all the ships, or even goes on Egghead itself and, like you said, allows them all to escape. And in the newspapers it'll say, Emperor Buggy comes in and saves the day. In a similar way that in chapter 1056, Crocodile came in and saved Buggy, Buggy will then get the credit for saving Luffy in that same type of way, right? Comes in and interrupts the Egghead incident and allows Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy to escape. I mean, it's going to be all over the paper. Now, can you imagine this? Can you imagine Shanks and Blackbeard actually show up? And in the paper it says, Emperor Buggy, his arrival forced Shanks and Blackbeard to retreat. I can see it. I can see it clear as crystal. In the newspaper, the arrival of Emperor Buggy causes the other emperors to retreat from the premises. You feel me? Or Buggy's just going to get credited for the whole thing. You, like, bro, listen. Ground Zero, the Muggy Balls. Every emperor is about to get their shine, and you know when people get their shine, Buggy always shines brightest. Because he's going to get a lot of the credit, and so I'm very excited for that, if that ends up being the case. But if it is simply just him getting his own Seraphim S clown, that is going to be the greatest thing ever. Because you already know he's going to be super broken. Buggy's Seraphim is going to be pretty much Seraphim Roger. It is going to be the S Roger, the S Pirate King. That is going to be Buggy's Seraphim, and it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And following on with your Mihawk comment from Yatin Katil, who says, after this chapter, I just want to see Mihawk angry at someone and do something similar, because it does not matter if you have Shanks or Mihawk or vice versa. You know Mihawk can do something very similar. And that's exactly what I was talking about, where it really does feel like, especially if my hunch is correct and all of the emperors are about to shine, If Buggy is going to shine, that means that Mihawk and Crocodile are going to allow that man to shine. You feel me? We're about to see something so absolutely insane from Mihawk. I don't know how we can potentially get something on the same level as what we saw in this week's chapter, where we saw an individual one shot a man worth 3 billion and his right hand man. Mihawk cutting the moon. He's gonna have to cut the moon, dude. He's gonna have to pull up. And like, I don't know. I can't even think of a feat crazier than what I saw in this week's chapter. But whatever that is, I'll leave that up for Oda's creative mind to decide. But we gotta see something crazy from Mihawk. I am so excited for that, man. Because, you know, there are certain characters that you just know when one gets hype, the other one's gonna get hype. Right? And that's like the Shankses and the Blackbeards and the Mihawks. But especially here, like I said, because of the 4 emperors, and I believe that Oda wants to start the final saga with a bang from all 4 of the emperors. All of them getting something huge coming out of this arc. Luffy, of course, potentially retreating with Vegapunk, right? Taking the world's greatest genius with him into Elbaf, barely probably escaping this entire thing that's about to happen. Buggy might get credited for this whole thing. Blackbeard is going to come out here with a massive W if he does end up showing up with what he might end up showing up with, right? And that leads me to my next comment, which coming in here, when I read this comment, my mind was in the flippin' Flagnards, man. OK Dan comes in and says, Coach Peak reaction. If Blackbeard is going to Egghead and his first word against Luffy is room, I'm going to lose it. Brother, if I hear Marshall Lee, because you know how Oda's going to do it, if he has it, right? That's going to hurt my heart because I love Law. I really love Law. That man is a straw hat to me, so if he gets his fruit extracted from him, when I've been used to just hearing, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, I've been hearing that for so long. But to hear that in another character's voice, or in the manga where we see room and it could potentially have like a different type of font to it, right? It'll have this menacing, I can't even fathom Blackbeard having the OP no Mi. Son, he is going to perform surgery on individuals before he swallows them whole in darkness. And then he can potentially blow them away with the Quake fruit as well. That's too OP. Anything within that bubble is going to be his to reign. And what can he do while they're in that bubble? He can also activate the other fruits. Dude, it's too broken. If he has room, if he has the OP no Mi, you can imagine Blackbeard Gamma Knight. It would be such... You want to talk about something insane for us to continue this momentum? If Blackbeard has the OP no Mi, and Oda showcases it in a type of way where we see someone use room, and then we see that only Blackbeard is here. Oh man, dude. I mean, it would be... I would be like so torn. My heart would be split in half. Because as a Blackbeard fan, I would be losing my mind. I'd be like, yo, this is insane. This is hype. Let's go, boys. And on the other half, like I said, I would be so heartbroken. So heartbroken, man. Because I love Law, bro. I really love Law. And then, the potential possibilities are endless. It could be Blackbeard. It could be someone else. But there are a lot of individuals here that believe that it is someone else. And starting us off here, we have Dax Sake, who believes that what Blackbeard Pirates are showing up to Egghead. I'm feeling at least Aokiji, Shiryu, Pizarro, and Lafitte, maybe Devin and Shot 2. P.S. I'm proud to have the Sand Hat. Thanks to whoever gifted me a membership last stream. Yo, shout out to all the gifted memberships last stream, and I'm glad Dak was able to get one of them. Shout out to my good brother. I left right before having, but you're the GOAT. So, Dax saying he's feeling Aokiji, Shiryu, Pizarro, Lafitte, potentially Katarina Devon, and Vasco Shot as well. So then we also have Hollow-sama saying, what if the Blackbeard ship is the 10th Titanic captain coming to Egghead? That being said, I do believe it would be better for the story if it is Blackbeard himself, but it would be nice having the cover story link over with Kuzan showing up and freezing the Navy ships. So much hype incoming. And that is followed up with Shrivas Shirian saying, man, what a chapter. It was so hype. I was sweating so hard while reading it. We all were, man. We all were. I mean, I think King of Lightning's reaction was just like the perfect encapsulation of what it felt like to read that chapter. I mean, it was how he was sweating, that's how we were sweating. You know what I mean? Like, it captured exactly what that chapter was, which was a sweat fest. In terms of the afterthoughts, the Blackbeard ship that we saw coming to Egghead is probably not Teach himself. I really believe that it could be Kuzan who's pulling up to the madness in Egghead. That gives me immense hype as well. All in all, best chapter of the year, by far, peak. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about Aokiji here, man. We have to talk about Aokiji. You know, regardless of the scenario, as we talked about in the ramble that I put up yesterday, if Ze himself shows up, this is Marineford God Valley 2.0, and it is going to be ultra peak fiction. I mean, I'm going to be losing my mind. I'm going to be confused. I'm going to be perplexed because I will have no idea of what took place on the island full of lead. I will be like, what happened to Law? What happened to Pudding? What happened to Kobe? What happened to everything that was about to go down there in the island full of lead that they are currently taking over into Egghead Island? What happened? I'm going to be left with so many questions if Blackbeard is truly here. If Blackbeard is not here, for me, the second best option, the most intriguing option, especially with individuals like Kizaru and St. J. Garcia Saturn right around the corner, is if Aokiji, if Kuzan shows up here, we're about to get one of the most intriguing conversations and moments, I wouldn't even dare say sequence of moments, in the entire series. Because this is something obviously that's been built up by Oda from Punk Hazard until now, even before then, at the end of Fishman Island, receiving the news of what happened between Akainu and between Sakazuki and Kuzan. So we've known that this man has been quote-unquote affiliated, right? After Dressrosa, we had a feeling that Aokiji was going to be working with Blackbeard. That was the main theory coming out of chapter, I believe that was 719, that we were thinking about that week whenever the chapter dropped. I believe, I mean, it's been years and it's on the old channel, but I believe either that one or in the 720. I think it was, no, it wasn't 719. I think it was 720. I think it was 720, chapter 720. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe, God, was it Venom? Someone brought it, man, it's been 10 years, dude. Yeah, literally 10 years, 2013. Someone in that week in the comment section brought up the Aokiji thing, and we couldn't stop talking about it. Just overall as a community, but especially here on my channel, about the potential possibilities of him being a part of Blackbeard's crew and like Smoker's words and its implications, and to know that getting payoff to that with chapter 1064, and now potentially having them showing up here in Egghead, it is going to be a very intriguing scenario because obviously with Kuzan, there are three parties that are very important to his character that are all going to be present here on Egghead and or the aftermath of Egghead, right? Of course, it's his former buddies in the Marines, Kizaru and St. J. Garcia Saturn pulling up. How are they going to feel about Kuzan pulling up? And if he's not a triple agent, if he's actually like 100%, or at the very least appearing to be against them, opposed to them, what kind of conversation would come from that? Someone like a Robert D. Lucci, who is right now on the fence, seeing someone like a Kuzan who was already defected, how would he feel about that? If Smoker himself shows up on these massive fleets that are pulling up, how is that conversation going to go about between Smoker and Kuzan after everything that's happened, right? That's the Marines. Robin. We know we know it's coming. Whether it be on Egghead or whether it be on Elbaf, we know that Robin and Kuzan stuff is coming. And that leads me to Kev DOG, who says, it's wild to think that we're living through the insanity unfolding before our eyes, but now it's time to rot our brains with the possibilities. If Kuzan is inoccupied with Garp at the moment, and that was going to be the other individual I was going to bring up, which is Garp and Kobe over there on the island full of lead. That to me was going to be the most intriguing conversation out of them all. Considering that the theory goes in, or the theories that have been going in about Kuzan being a part of the Sword. If he truly is a part of Sword, having someone like Law, who is, like, shout out to Randy, potentially could be a member of Sword as well. But for individuals who we believe 100% are the driving force behind that, in Kobe, who has obviously already been confirmed, and Garp, right? So Kuzan being there with those two, and let's just say allowing Garp to die on his watch, how would he feel about that? How would his internal conflict play out? How would he feel about Kobe being captured? Like, it's just, that would lead to so many intriguing scenarios that if Kuzan shows up on Egghead, we would not be able to get that unless he is traveling here with Kobe still on the ship. Then we could still have these conversations, which I'm super excited about. And if Kuzan is coming here, and if Blackbeard is coming here too, that would allow Garp to pull up in as well. But we'll talk about that in a second. So Kev says, if he is an occupied with Garp at the moment, do you think that he's on the ship to Egghead right now? And at this point, that very well might be the case if Blackbeard is not here. Now, could you imagine a scenario where Blackbeard and Kuzan are here? If the entire Blackbeard Pirates crew is here, Shanks is pulling up. I'm telling you right now, if Blackbeard's entire crew is pulling up here, Shanks is pulling up and Crossguild is pulling up. We need a section of the story where all four Emperors appear on one island. And if it's not going to happen on Elbaf, because one of the characters is going to be dead, regardless of which one of the four is going to be, then it's going to be here. If all four Emperors reunite here on Egghead Island, which the only other time they have in the series, at least out of the current Emperors, was in Marineford, this that confirms that one of the four characters is going to die, which Shanks dying by the end of the series has been a very popular theory, right? So someone else taking his spot by the time the series comes to a close, would if we get all four Emperors showing up here, that would, at least to me, be like a major red flag for a potential character death from the four Emperors before they get to Laughtail. Because if not, then Laughtail is going to be the only time that all four Emperors are in one place, right? And maybe that's what Oda's been holding off on, right? So, like I said, if Blackbeard pulls up with the entire crew, oh man. I'm not sure how I feel about it personally, since I think he's going to be safe with Elbaf, so we can have a scene with Robin and Saul. However, Kuzan stopping another Ohara from happening would also be amazing. In conclusion, Kuzan is amazing, has so much potential, but what do you want from him most? So I love your thoughts right here on Kuzan stopping another Ohara from taking place, right? And that's been indicated by Sentomaru. This is an incident that is going to supersede what took place on Ohara. This is going to be very, very bad. What takes place here is going to be catastrophic beyond imagination stuff, right? Compared to the God Valley incident, going to turn this into Ground Zero. It's going to be huge. And so Kuzan doing everything in his power to attempt to stop something like that from happening again under his watch, to me would be absolutely incredible. And in the same line of thought, if after doing such a thing, he then goes and has a conversation with Robin and Saul, where he is feeling remorseful for what happened in the past, and or Robin gives him a thank you for not killing Saul. Paralleling the end of the Water 7 saga. I think that would be also a really beautiful emotional moment too, because we know that Aokiji and Saul were friends, and I would love to see that conversation take place between the three of them on Elbaf, if he is to show up there. And if he's going to show up there, then I wonder in what capacity he would show up there. Because if Kuzan, implying that Kuzan shows up on Elbaf tells me one of two things. Either he's rolling by himself and potentially is already freed from the chains of, or not, I say the chains, but freed from his allegiance to Blackbeard, and goes off on his own, on his unicycle, and heads over to Elbaf. Or Blackbeard's crew shows up on Elbaf, And either scenario is equally exciting to me. You know what I mean? I'm up for either scenario. It'd be crazy. But Kuzan showing up on Elbaf, there would be a few things that would have to take place. Like I said, either Blackbeard shows up, Kuzan leaves, or Blackbeard sends a few of his crew members to go to Elbaf, and one of them being Kuzan, the same way that he sent Kuzan and Lafitte. And, or I should say, what was that in the cover story? Was it Kuzan and Augur? I think it was Kuzan and Augur in the cover story to go take on Olhik Island, right? So if he does the same thing, sending them to Elbaf, that very well could lead them into that scenario as well. But in terms of what do I want to see most from Kuzan, besides incredible character moments like the one you described, it's the conversations, the interesting conversations. Egghead so far has provided some really interesting pieces of internal conflict. When Sanjay Garcia Saturn shows up, and because I have this scene playing on in my mind that I would love to see, where Instant Messenger Sama, in the midst of this insanity, plans on erasing another island, and all of them are on it. And I would love to see the internal conflict that comes from that from someone like a Sanjay Garcia Saturn who serves directly under Emu. And by consequence as well, individuals like Kizaru, Lucci's continued internal conflict, Smoker, these individuals that are serving under the Marines, obviously under the flag of the world government, how would they feel about such a thing taking place where they are being treated as disposable tools, no matter how high up the power structure they are, right? No matter how high up the hierarchy they're still treated as disposable tools. And because I've been thinking about that scenario and that potentially taking place later on in the arc, Kuzan's internal conflict has been one of the most interesting parts about the Marines heading into the time skip with the way that that was being showed throughout the course of Enies Lobby, and then seeing the way that he was acting in Marineford, and then of course coming out of the time skip and seeing what took place on Fishman Island with the aftermath and in Punk Hazard, right? It's just, he's one of the most interesting characters. And that internal conflict showing itself through conversations, like a potential conversation with Garp and Kobe, potential conversation with Robin and Saul, potential conversation with Kizaru, or even Monkey D, Dragon, right? If Dragon pulls up, there's a lot of different interesting scenarios there where a conversation will showcase exactly what his thought process is. And because I'm so interested in his thought process, the man joined the Blackbeard Pirates, and he's doing so for a reason, right? Like, I want to know. Speaking of Garp, Denzel Mills comes in with a comment that just shatters my soul and says, if that is Blackbeard and a Garp, or if that is Blackbeard and Garp is on his way to Egghead 2, Blackbeard might just kill Garp in front of Luffy. We were all afraid of Blackbeard killing Garp, and Luffy would hear about it through the newspaper. If Blackbeard kills Garp in front of the king, and he's unable to do anything about it because of the chaos surrounding that scenario, oh my goodness, man. That would be by far one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. And honestly, if Oda were to place Luffy not in the exact same scenario as Garp was in Marineford, because of course he had the decision right to sit back and watch as things played out, hoping in the fact that Ace would be saved, right, allowing Luffy to hit him. Garp was just such a compelling character throughout the course of Marineford, but it's because he had his hands tied, and you just wonder if not due to his own sense of the situation in hand, right? Luffy's obviously the type of individual that'll go in to save Garp no matter the case. But what about if he was placed in a scenario where he just could not do anything about it, right? Like whether he's preoccupied with Sanjay Garcia Saturn or everything that's popping off currently on Egghead creates the situation where he's not able to save Garp. That's gonna hurt so bad, man, because it's gonna be the one individual that we always believe can pull anything off, especially after Wano taking potentially his biggest L, right, in losing his grandfather before his eyes, the same way that he lost his brother. And he'll be questioning himself, have I really grown? Have I really grown? I've defeated Kaido, I escaped Big Mom and Whole Cake Island, I defeated Doflamingo, I've been doing my thing in the time skip. I'm currently considered an emperor. And even as an emperor, I was not able to save my grandfather. How do you think Luffy would come out of this arc feeling after that? That means that he would head into Elbaf with that weighing on his mind. And what would that be for Luffy's character? What kind of vibe would that create for the story going forward? It's a very, very interesting scenario. It would destroy my soul, but it is a very, I mean, it's possible. It's possible, man. It is possible. So, I love this comment from OMG. OMG says, guess we're all still awake, eh? Because, I put this post up like 3 a.m. After some thinking, maybe that weirdly wasn't Blackbeard who was going to Egghead, must be Kuzan. So many things, so I'll just give a shout out to my boy Kid, who took the biggest W. Yes, it's a W today. Man got hit by Shanks' first named attack and got the sub-out narration treatment. Straight up getting added to the Hall of Fame. Plebs can never. What a great life you had, Kid. Cheers. Seriously. Not everyone would have the privilege of getting hit by Shanks' first named attack, which also is Divine Departure. Not everyone has the privilege of being fed to Shanks. Like, Kid, I'm telling you, you better go to King Kai's planet and thank Shanks. All right, that's just the scenario at hand. Before we move on to Kid, actually, let me bring on this comment from Recon, staying on Blackbeard for a few seconds. What's good, brother? I couldn't believe what I was reading. I still can't believe what we read, man. This chapter was straight up brutality. Shanks going serious really reminded me of when Luffy goes serious. It feels extra real. I don't know how to explain it. Also, fun fact, the real-life Captain Kidd was known as the most unlucky pirate in history. I did not know that. It seems Oda has taken this seriously within the story. This is Kid's Sabaody. I hope that Kid grows from this experience and comes back as a much stronger and more interesting character. One more thing. I have a feeling that in order for York to stay alive, she's the one who calls in Blackbeard forces for some sort of reward. It's chaos on top of chaos. If York is the one who called in Blackbeard's forces for some sort of reward, we're gonna see some, like you said, chaos on top of chaos on top of chaos. We are gonna have factions and betrayals happening all over the place, and I'm so down for it, because you already know Blackbeard is only moving if he knows he can get something out of this, and he knows that York is currently in possession of the Seraphim. The individuals that stopped him, the main individuals that stopped him from getting what he wanted in Amazon Lily. If he believes he can have either one of their fruits or to take one of them directly under him by controlling them, oh man, Blackbeard's gonna do it. And that's what I love so much about that idea, Recon. Because it is an equivalent exchange. Or I would dare say it's like almost all in Blackbeard's favor. It only works for him. He's coming in for the help. She trusts in him. And my boy goes up in the like swimwear. Like it's just, it really works for him. On your comment on Shanks going serious reminds me of Luffy. I thought the same thing, man. Like, it was such a Luffy thing. Just him doing that by himself. Going in front of them saying, I'm gonna handle this. He's picked on my people. I'm gonna take care of this now. Like, that was so Luffy, man. You could see why Luffy looks up to this man so much. I mean, he's the flipping GOAT, bro. That's Shanks. So, but going on to your Kid comment, there's a lot of Kid stuff here. And I want to start off here with your comment about most unlucky pirate history, and this being Kid's Sabaody, and him potentially growing from this experience. It comes back stronger and much more interesting character, because I also have a belief in that exact same scenario taking place, where Kid is going to come back stronger and when I mean stronger, of course, stronger in terms of physical strength and potentially, awakening Conqueror's coding and stuff down the line. But to me, the more important thing is him becoming much more stronger as a character that due to this defeat, on his road to redemption, becomes a much more compelling character because of this. And I'm about to start reading a few comments here from a lot of you guys that I really enjoyed. Right, so we have Ty here saying, I hope Kid going forward can find a new purpose similar to Bellamy. And I really love this comparison, where he can get a W as he exits the story before he comes back, hopefully for the final war. Now, thematically, of course, they're two completely different characters. But Bellamy was always a compelling character from the very start. But when we saw him again in Dressrosa, it really just showcased the brilliance behind the writing of Bellamy's character. And I wonder if by the time we look at Kid's entire journey, right, but when the series comes to a close, will we be coming to a similar sentiment where by the time we see the final pages being written for Eustace's Captain Kidd, will we come out of it saying, you know what, it was a big roller coaster, but he truly wasn't a great character at the end of the day? Because I really wonder what Oda's cooking, right? And obviously he has a plan in store for the characters that are within this battle royale, both the victors and the losers, to have some sort of role to play within this final saga. So I wonder what that role is for Kid. And there are a few more comments to go in here, but Ty brings up a great point and a new purpose, right? And hopefully returning for the final war. I believe we'll probably see him on Elbaf. So starting us off here, and this leads into him, of course, not being able to leave Elbaf. He does not have a ship to leave Elbaf. So MX states, the man marked by flames, maybe Saul, is Kid's only hope right now. And what I find to be interesting is if this really is true, and Saul is the reason why Kid lives, and or right, the giants, potentially led by someone like Saul, or just the giants themselves, out of a thankful a gesture to Kid for taking out Big Mom, they go in and they save his life and they bring him inside. Then maybe there he meets Saul, whatever the case may be. What interests me about that entire scenario is the fact that Kid was the one who brought up the man marked by flames in the first place, which tells me, was it always Oda's plan to have Kid lose here on Elbaf and then have him meet the man marked by flames before anybody else? Because it's like, why else would Kid be the one to bring it up? You feel me? Like, now that's what I call, like, you having the information and kind of being a, like a little tongue-in-cheek with it. Like, yeah, the man marked by flames, the individual we'll meet here in a little bit. Following that, we have Sage VTX, who says, hey, Recon, first time messaging for an Afterthoughts, and let's see how blessed I am to have experienced this peak literature chapter with you and everyone else within the community. Likewise, my man, likewise. Personally, I've got a prediction lined up depicting the future of Kid. Firstly, I believe Kid had wanted to become Pirate King solely, so him and his crew will be free of authority from other pirates and marines for freedom. After this defeat, the Kid pirates have no way of escaping Elbaf for the broken ship. They'll be washed up on the shores and forced to explore Elbaf. Here's where they can meet Saul, the man marked by flames, who will tell the Kid pirates the truth of the WG and CDs. And that is very interesting. That is because it's going to... I wonder how Kid would respond to such a thing, right? Kid will come out of this exchange a changed, humble man who now wants to get rid of the authority over him instead of taking out the oppressive WG. This is a great way to explore Kid's character in a new light, and motivation for him participating in the final war and being removed from the Pirate King race, which he inevitably was going to lose. And that to me is what's so interesting, right? Is even though Kid, Luffy, and Law have been portrayed as rivals and quote-unquote equals, especially in Wano, during the beginning of Act 2, and then seeing how the three captains invaded Onigashima, it became very, very clear that the gap between Luffy and the other two was increasing, even though Law and Kid's awakening were absolutely insane. I mean, Law and Kid's awakenings, they're super broken. I mean, our room, the assigned stuff, it's crazy. It's crazy what they're capable of with their awakenings. But there was a clear gap between the Go with the Coat and Kid and Law. There's a reason why he became an emperor and the other two, the other two did not, right? So you're absolutely right about, in terms of the Pirate King race, it really felt like, the Blackbeard, Luffy, Buggy, Shanks were way ahead of Law and Kid, right? I find that comment to be extremely interesting. Additionally, I must mention something about Kid's character. During Sabaody, he had the highest bounty, but still mentioned to Luffy it was an honor to meet him. There's a great deal of respect seeing how Luffy's previous enemies didn't acknowledge him as a real pirate due to his goofy nature. And I'd like to believe this is Oda's way of assuring us the kid has a chance to become humble. Shout out to my close friend Vortex. Shout out to Vortex for putting me onto this channel last year. The best recommendation made. Man, shout out to Vortex. And I appreciate you so much for the kind words and for this comment, Sage, because you're absolutely right about, first and foremost, experiencing this peak literature chapter with everyone. It really is what made this 1079 experience so special, is being able to experience it, with the entire community, individuals like yourself. But Kid now on Elbaf and how he's gonna bounce back from something like this, it's obviously in a lot of our minds because we're still coming to process exactly what took place here. I mean, this is one of the major side characters in this series that we all believe is going to have a major role in the final saga that just got one-shotted, both he and his entire crew, by a single man. Now, granted, that man is the man. That man is the man. But the fact remains is that it took place to Kid. And so now it's like, what happens to Kid now? But I'm 100% in agreement with you in regards to Kid's role on Elbaf being what is going to allow us to see not only Kid in a new light, but start his brand new journey towards the final war and his path becoming clearer and clearer to the fandom. And that's something I cannot wait to see. And it is brilliant on Oda's part, if he really did have this from, what was that, 1056, right? Where we, or was it 1056? Whenever Kid and Luffy and Law were choosing where they were gonna go next. If Kid bringing up the Man Marked by Flames really was that, like, all right, like I'm gonna start turning the wheels on this now. I just find that to be so interesting that this was always in place to happen, right? And in that same line of thought, we have here a comment from Scar, who says Kid will be back with Advanced Conqueror's coding to at least put up a fight or even defeat Shanks. He said, and it says, parentheses, I don't see this happening. I'm excited that Shanks is finally and actually a moving character now, dude. Same, man. Like, the fact that we're actually getting Shanks in multiple different chapters, like from 1054, 1055, 1059, 1076, 1079. I mean, bro, 5 chapters. I feel like a whole decade went by without me seeing this man in 1 chapter, let alone 5. And if we go back to chapter 900, we technically I've had Shanks sightings in what is like 903, 907. And this is how I know I'm a tard, all right? Off the dome. 903, 907, 957. I think we're all like the Shanks sightings. That is, so it's like, man. And the 957 one was his bounty poster. So it's like, his character showing up was in 6 chapters since chapter 900. And before that, like, from, what was it, chapter, like, 595? Or, God, maybe even before that. I think it was the last time we saw Shanks before that was the phenomenal speech that he gave at Ace's grave. And if that's the case, that was like, man, that was like 589, 590. So from 590 to like 902, I mean, we're deprived of Shanks' greatness. And now, from 903 until now, baby, we've been eating. We've been eating. Look at that. My laptop is falling to the ground. That's how you know. That's how you know. But we are seeing both Blackbeard and Shanks act up like this is a dream come true. Seriously. Both of them, because Blackbeard was another character that we spent the entire time skip here, from 598 onwards. We were all like, man, we keep hearing of Blackbeard. We keep hearing of the Payback War. We keep hearing of him becoming an emperor. We're hearing of how he's going out and hunting devil fruits. We saw him then in Mushi. We're seeing Burgess entering the tournament. We're seeing that they're invading Baltigo. And it's like, we're seeing all this stuff take place. We're hearing of it. But we have not seen the main man himself. And so that's when chapter 925 dropped. It was like, yo, Blackbeard's here. Let's flip it, go. And so for me, having Shanks and Blackbeard so active like this is the biggest indicator that this is the final saga. We have seen them so many times within the past few chapters. It's wild. Now I just saw both Mihawk and Dragon get active as well. Me too. When they become active, when Mihawk starts going up in like swimwear and Dragon, the one character that has not lifted a finger, but is known as the world's most wanted criminal, the fact that he's Luffy's pops, it's like, you know he's nasty. You know what he's going to do is going to change the entire One Piece world. He just needs to go out and do it. And it's just exciting stuff. I'm waiting for Cross Guild to move. Me too, man. Can't wait for Cross Guild. And speaking of Cross Guild, Vortex comes in and says, I feel like that Mihawk chapter is coming. We might see him do something insane. Oh man, that's gonna be so exciting, dude. A Cross Guild chapter is due since we've been getting so many part-timers showing up to the job every day. But what a wonderful chapter. Blackbeard and Shanks in the same chapter is always insanity. It's just, it's like, what more could you ask for, man? Seriously, you can't have one without the other. That's exactly what I feel about it as well. So we might see Blackbeard still come to Wano for the ancient weapon. There has to be a threat incoming. It's the reason why Yamato stayed behind. I cannot wait for the mayhem that is about to take place. Final Saga Oda. Love that. Blackbeard potentially still going for the ancient weapons. Just waiting for Shanks to pass by a little bit, right? Like, wait a minute, I'm gonna let this man pass through, which is what I was talking about in the ramble about this game the two of them are playing. And actually, there's another comment that brought that up too. It's the reason why Yamato stayed behind is more Yamato greatness. You know, I'm all in there for that. You feel me? I cannot wait for the mayhem that is about to take place. Like, that's all it is. It's just mayhem, chaos. Anything can happen. Can you imagine Blackbeard sending his people after he finishes what happens here on an island full of lead? We all expect him to go directly for, you know, the next part, whatever it is. Instead, he goes right back to Wano and goes for Pluton. And there he comes face to face with not only this being Straw Hat territory, but a future Straw Hat in Yamato. Oh, man, it'd be crazy. It would be crazy, yo. It would be crazy. Final Saga Oda. Absolutely Vortex. So, I want to talk about this Praetorius comment, because we're on the same wavelength in regards to what is currently happening here with Shanks and Blackbeard, and what was implied in this chapter that to me is so interesting. That not only, of course, was Shanks chasing after Blackbeard is the reason why he was around Wano's waters, because he believed Blackbeard would be there, but the fact that Blackbeard was not there potentially means that Blackbeard is currently trying to outsmart Shanks. And in turn, Shanks is attempting to outsmart Blackbeard by attempting to get to a place before Blackbeard gets there. So they're currently in a game of like cat and mouse and stuff. And Praetorius and I are on the same wavelength, where he says, I can't believe I missed the coach's reaction to Gravetooth Fugar's introduction. Gravetooth Fugar might be top one. The War on the Sea theory is getting closer to canon, with Blackbeard becoming an active part of the arc. And you're absolutely right. You've been pushing that since the beginning. And Shanks really is leaving Elbaf to look for him. My future sight is telling me that Shanks is here to stay. Oh, your future sight would make Egghead the all-time goat if Shanks is here to stay. I think Shanks trying to intercept Blackbeard while Blackbeard outmaneuvers him will be a continuing plot point. I agree. I 100% agree. Their game of chess is going to be legendary. Wherever Shanks goes next, maybe full of lead, while it teaches him there, that would be insane. Can you imagine Shanks showing up and he's just too late? He's just too late, man. I think we'll see him try and fail to prevent the chaos again, slowly figuring out Blackbeard's schemes as he moves, but too late to keep up. Between the weak fleet and Teach Watch, Oda's putting Shanks in a situation where, with too many plates spinning just as chaos is about to unfold. I love that line. Yonko Inchel's been built up with Big Mom, but it looks like it could play an active role soon with Hongo interaction in this chapter, especially with Morgan's already in the arc. Maybe what screws Shanks over is the way that Morgan skews the headlines about the Egghead incident. And, you know, I'm not going to rule out that possibility. I'm not going to rule that out in the slightest. And to me, that's what makes it so interesting, is you're absolutely right about a potential game here where the two are just... Blackbeard is still trying to find that final piece of the puzzle before he can face Shanks. And Shanks is trying to stop him before A, he gets the final piece of the puzzle, and B, before he causes any more damage to the world, right? And causes any more chaos and mayhem in the ways in which we know Blackbeard is currently capable of doing, right? So them continuing that is going to be one of the most compelling parts of this final saga until the two come to a head. And I'm not sure if they're going to come to a head very soon. That's one of the reasons why I'm still hesitant on saying that either this is Blackbeard showing up himself or Shanks himself it comes to Egghead 2, because I'm not sure if Oda would want Shanks versus Blackbeard to take place this early in the final saga. I'm not sure, because I don't know what he has planned. if he would have asked me if Shanks was doing Divine Departure 25 chapters in the final saga, I would have said crazy. That's like what he did. So if we get Shanks vs. Blackbeard very, very soon, I mean, it's going to be peak fiction, but it would just be way sooner than I would have anticipated. And God, man, that would be insane. So, but I love this comic Praetorius because we're on the same wavelength in regards to what they're currently doing. And you've been on board with the War on the Sea theory, starting here on Egghead as it, you know, spills throughout the rest of the world. Due to the events here in Egghead. You're absolutely right about that. It looks like that very well could end up happening. Now, your comment on Morgan's fascinates me because I've been wondering why we had that Morgan's thing pop up in the middle of the arc, and I was connecting it to the Egghead incident in regards to Morgan's would have to report on the Egghead incident and relay, whether it be factual or unfactual information or combinations of the two, the entertaining version to the audience in order for them to, or in the audience, I'm talking about both us and the individuals in the verse itself, that they're going to be seeing exactly what took place on Egghead Island through the lens of what Morgan's is trying to feed them, right? And so potentially there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be misled on that type of information. Now, if Morgan's, I'm going to assume Shanks is not going to be misled by the cap, but he very well could be misled by the reporting on Blackbeard. You know what I mean? That's something to where I can see that potentially being the case, especially with how unpredictable Blackbeard is going to be. It's like Morgan's wouldn't even have the opportunity to keep up with him himself. Who in the Flying Flagnars would be able to predict Blackbeard or one of his ships pulling up on Egghead? No one, right? So, but I love that comment, Praetorius. I really, really do. And following up here on the Shanks Greatness, we have Captain Clark who says, "Geez, man, what a chapter and what a stream." Awesome, Matt. That was an incredible stream. My emotions were so high from it all that I ended up getting the motivation to study my German vocab, and that is a feat in itself. That is really, really cool. Anywho, there are a few things that immediately pop into my head when I think of what occurred in this chapter. The first, and what I believe is the simplest to talk about, is that of Shanks' fleet. It seems full of all kinds of characters, from the meek to the mighty. Got a strong vibe from what we've seen so far that everyone is one big family, 100%. And the Shanks uses his flag similar to how Whitebeard did, protecting those who might not be able to do so themselves, 100%. Ranging from pirate crews to entire countries. Also, the way Shanks reacted when he saw that Kid could have potentially killed so many of his fellow pirates shows that not only does he protect them with his name, but they hold a special place in his heart, and he gets serious when they are in trouble. 110%, very akin to Luffy, exactly. I'm really enjoying the collection of weirdos, especially Gravetooth Fugar. Something about him speaks to me on a fundamental level. Yo, shout out to Gravetooth Fugar, man. On a more serious note, upon seeing one of Blackbeard's ships pull up, whether he is present on it or not, begs the question: how intense is the Egghead Island incident going to be? I'm questioning the same thing. This is real. After 1078, I was like, we're about to get God Valley 2.0. After this chapter, I'm convinced this might be Marineford 2.0 / God Valley 2.0, which would be the biggest incident in the history of the One Piece verse. Easy. And Marineford was also considered an incident when Ace fought Blackbeard. If I'm not mistaken, let me pull up volume 45. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the exact verbiage that was used there was the same thing. Hold on. Oh no, it was in volume 46, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is volume 46. Regardless, it was referred to as a major incident. So, both of the craziest major incidents in the series, in current time, the Paramount War, Marineford, and then in the past with God Valley, both of them, a combination of the two being what's about to take place on Egghead Island. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. If we have Kizaru and Sanjay Garcia Saturn, 100 warships featuring many vice admirals, the Vegapunk, Sentomaru, and all the pacifistas, the Straw, the Seraphim, and some of Blackbeard's crew, confirmed to be present, how crazier could the battles be going forward? That's what I'm saying. I cannot fathom the extent of the final war if it is going to be more insane than this. That is exactly how I feel about it too. That's why I'm like, yo, are we already in Laugh Tale? Heck, we are even on track to go to Elbaf after Egghead at some point. How will that compare to the situation there and now? That's what I'm saying. My brain fails to understand and foresee it. This is truly a time to be reading. It's such an unpredictable time. Like, we have no idea what's going to be happening next. And the best part about it is no matter where we go, it's equally exciting. Finally, with possible destruction of the Kid Pirates, though knowing Oda, some or all of them may come back later, you have to wonder if you'll begin marking eliminations of the contenders for the One Piece one by one, and that's also a potential reality as well. First with Kid, who will be the next? I'm curious to see how Oda handles it, and if he continues down this route, I'm all for it. Great comment, Captain Clark, and you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that. Like, he potentially could be going down one by one and like taking out the individuals who have been going after the title of King of the Pirates and going after the One Piece. I could see that happening too. It really truly being a battle royale, right? Where the last person standing gains the throne, right? Gains the Pirate King title. That's a very likely scenario. Kosh Panda. Kosh Panda says, after defeating the upcoming pirates, Whitebeard become my son, Big Mom become my son-in-law, Kaido become my subordinate, and Shanks become fish food. You know, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Akbar J says, great chapter as we can finally see what Shanks can do, especially when someone threatens his peers. The Blackbeard Pirates onto Egghead tease is also intriguing. It's so intriguing, man. It's a reminder this won't be the end of for Kid and Kid Pirates, absolutely. Anyway, it's an amazing chapter that could feed the fandom for 3 weeks. 100%. 100% Akbar J. Like, this could feed the fandom for years. It's flipping Shanks, man. Wasn't Dahl with the Helmeppo crew? So Derek of Rivium comes in and says, wasn't Dahl with Helmeppo's crew? Maybe Garp is with Dahl, who was shown to be on the way to Egghead. And this is also a scenario that could be taking place, considering what Derek of Rivia is talking about, which is back in chapter 1078. We did see Dahl within the collage of individuals that are going to be coming to Egghead Island, right, representing the ships. So if Dahl is with Helmeppo's crew, potentially Garp is with or is going to be with Dahl heading into Egghead, or at the very least an affiliation, right, where these characters are going to be coming together to Egghead Island, right? And man, I'm telling you, if Garp shows up too, dude, and they already have the comparisons to God Valley, I mean, that's just gonna be too much. It's gonna be absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane. Shinmin Tagazo comes in and says, that's an awesome name, by the way. Shout out to Vagabond. After getting rid of all the feels and hype, which is so hard, I can make 2 points. About Blackbeard's ship approaching Egghead, since in the Mark by Flame chapter, Law picked northeast route. Kid winning the draws against Luffy, so he got east, which I assume Elbaf and Luffy losing the draw to Kid got southeast, which is Egghead. Assuming they all left Wano at the same time, I think it's too soon for Blackbeard himself to now come to Egghead. I think the crew in the Kuzan's cover story coming to Egghead makes more sense, and that is most certainly the more likely scenario. But I'll take it anyway if it's Mr. Zeha himself. I mean, come on, who wouldn't, like you said. Another point is, what do you think Shanks and his crew and the Giants and his fan clubs, whatever they're called, will do to the Kid Pirates? I like to think they won't let them drown to death, but like that. But at the same time, he let the legendary mountain man himself, Higuma, getting eaten by Eel-sama, so don't know. If we talk about Shanks' logic of you pointing a gun at me, you better be ready to get blown away by it too, it most certainly applies in Kid's case here. I mean, literally, right, with him bringing out a Spartan laser. And I'm sure it's because we don't feel a thing about Higuma. I won't even remember his name if it did become a meme thing. But we do feel something about Kid, that here I'm questioning whether he'll survive or not. What do you think? Do you think it fits Shanks' character? I'll see these guys in my dreams tonight for sure. I think it most certainly fits Shanks' character. I mean, both things everything Shanks did in this chapter fit his character, right? Making sure he was good to go because he is a believer in the next generation. We've known that from the beginning of the series. Shanks is in heavy belief that the next generation will surpass the old generation, and he believes that these individuals will be the ones to carry us into the new age. He has been all about that, consistent from day one, but just as consistent is the way in which he carries himself as a pirate, right? You may spit on me, that's fine. You spit on my friends, draw the line. That's it. And I'm going to take care of business. Right now, I don't care who you are. And like he said, we play dirty. If you pull out a gun, you better be ready to face the consequences, right? Like that ain't a toy, all right? So the fact that Kid was really about it and he was really about to wipe out his people, Shanks is gonna take him out. He's gonna take him out. Now, I'm sure even he must understand, especially with his future sight, that someone's gonna come in and rescue these individuals, especially since the rest of his crew is still breathing oxygen, even though the what's it called? Even though the ship got taken out and they're currently sinking into the bottom of the sea, someone's gonna come in and save them. Shanks, with his future sight, is probably gonna see that taking place. It's not like he's gonna go out of his way to stop them. At least that's the way I see it. Where he's gonna do this act with his future sight, potentially see someone coming in and saving a kid from the thing. He leaves off. He's like, nah, he's gonna be all right. He'll be good. But he himself won't be doing the action. But he might stay around until someone else comes in and does the action themselves, right? Because I do believe Shanks is really about it, where he's like, yo, if you're coming out here to put your life in the line by attempting to attack my people, you better be ready to face the consequences for it. And so he'll probably stick around, see someone else fish him out, but I don't think his crew fishes Kid out. I think I think this is going to showcase the side of him that we saw in chapter 1 that we've continued to see glimpses of, but was on full display within this chapter. And it does fit Shanks' character 110%. 110%, and it really goes into the pirate side of One Piece. And I think the more we get out of those sides of these characters, the more like we continue to see who they truly are as individuals. And that's going to be so much fun, considering that they all are going to be that way heading into the attempting to get the One Piece right. So for me, if I could have it one way, I'd have it to where he leaves him down there and waits for somebody else to come in and pull him out. Or he just leaves and sees it with his future sight. Like, yes, somebody pulled him out. Like, yo, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. But I don't think they're going to fish him out. Because it real deal is like, yo, you mess with my people, face the consequences. Face the consequences. So, but if he does end up pulling him out of the water, then of course that would be a very kind thing to do as well. So we'll see what happens there. But if I would have it my way, I would definitely have it to be the first option, where he just goes in and he's like, yo, we're out of here. If someone else comes in and rescues him, then that's on them. But we ain't gonna do it. We ain't gonna do it. You feel me? So that's the way I see it, my man. Thank you. And then we have a comment here from my dog Subra, who brings in the information regarding the volume 4 billion, which is exactly what I really wanted to see. And so that's what I wanted to conclude the afterthoughts with. Hey, this will be a long comment. First, I'll give a little summary regarding volume 4 billion, as you haven't read it. I'll make it very short. If you read it while making the video, you can go ahead and skip the part with volume 4 billion and go with my thoughts and theories. Thanks a lot. Volume 4 billion. Shanks' bounty 12 years ago was 1.04 billion berries. I do remember that from the Film Red special. First chapter, Shanks is known as the killer of color observation hockey, which doesn't let his opponents see through the future. And I love this theory we talked about in the comment section on stream. I love the idea that he developed this while fighting Mihawk, who we believe has potentially the best observation hockey in the series, considering his name is Hawkeye. So if Shanks developed this ability to cancel observation hockey by all of those daily duels with Mihawk, I think to me that's like the coolest thing ever. It really, really is. Who doesn't let his opponents see through the future? Shanks uses his burning sword to kill the enemies. More info on the crew from the volume. Beckman is good at hockey and rifles, whose bullets penetrate his enemies. He loves women and is popular among women. Yasop never misses his mark and loves dancing. He's a dancer. Lucky Roo is a cook. That's my cook. Sanji's my cook, but so is Lucky Roo. So is Lucky Roo, man. And is not good at handling women. He is good at hockey and attacks like a bowling ball. Yeah, whenever I saw that in Film Red and I saw him like rolling around, it reminded me of Cannonbolt from Ben 10. Bonk Punch and Monster are musicians. While Monster beats fodder and gains time, Bonk spends some time and releases a strong punch to a formidable enemy in one breath. Odaroda's power is super strong. Lime Juice fights. So that means if Odaroda's power is super strong, that means he's going to be boxing Burgess, right? Lime Juice fights with an electric stick in the air like Sanji. Hongo is a doctor. There we go, Doc Q. And so familiar with weapons that he can rip apart weapons immediately. He loves a clean environment. Building Snake is navigator Nami. He attacks with a stomping kick. He fights with acrobatic juggling 2-sword style. He's good at defense. Howling Gab attacks with cutting howling. He hates insects and ghosts. Rockstar attacks with his smashing up sword style. Shout out to Rockstar. He digs a hole with his sword like a drill. They'll pierce the heavens. Roro fight the power. He has a strong sense of justice and wants others to follow the rules. This is the short info regarding the whole crew revealed in 4 billion. Now I'll go to my theory report. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I had heard some of those before, but having them all put together like that was very helpful. Very, very helpful. My theory/thoughts. So before I started, I said in the Afterthoughts, Blackbeard versus Luffy will happen soon, and Shanks will be the penultimate fight before the Great War. I feel like it's going in that direction. So basically stating that you believe Blackbeard versus Luffy is going to happen before Luffy versus Shanks, which is definitely a likely scenario. Now, as Blackbeard is coming, there are a lot of things that are opening now. Kuzan versus Kizaru, Kuzan versus Garp, the betrayal perspective. Garp versus the Gorosei to save Luffy, that would be insane. That would be insane. Kuzan and Kizaru is a lot of fun. Kuzan versus Garp is a lot of fun. But Garp versus the Gorosei, oof. Oof. To be honest, this is when I'm most hyped about if it happens. Thinking back to Marineford Garp, Gogus' duty to save his grandson. While that if he dies would be a huge eye-opener for Luffy, exactly, and he is still not there at the level of Shanks. Exactly. That's exactly what I said earlier. Kobe and Luffy versus Blackbeard, which would be God Valley Incident. Now, if there's no Blackbeard, then I believe Shiryu and Lafitte with Aokiji are in that. I love the Shiryu and Lafitte thing. As I've talked about multiple times with Lafitte being like the perfect infiltrator, I would love for Lafitte to come in, and obviously Shiryu with the invisibility fruit, he would be a major threat. And I would love to see how Zoro and S-Hawk, how Shiryu would showcase exactly what he's capable of against characters like that. Zoro, obviously, who after the King fight just propelled himself into absolute greatness, and the S-Hawk being the clone of the world's strongest swordsman. How would Shiryu fare there? Because obviously we believe that Shiryu is one of the final characters that Zoro is going to be fighting, especially being Blackbeard's swordsman. So if Shiryu pulls up, we're going to have to measure where Shiryu is on the scale, which I'm going to assume if Blackbeard versus Luffy is not going to happen now, and it's just them pulling up, that would imply that Shiryu is about to come in, and we're going to see the gap between him and Zoro. So that way Zoro will have that thing to catch up to, so that way whenever Shiryu and Zoro fight once again, Zoro will have used the training used from that point until when they meet again to catch up to him, and they have an equal battle in which Zoro comes out victorious. But in order to have that happen, we've got to see the gap. So I do wonder if Shiryu truly is here, that we're going to have to see a moment where Shiryu showcases his swordsmanship right now is on a level higher than Zoro's. And I wonder how that would... It's just, Zoro was so amazing in Wano that Shiryu's going to have to do something crazy for me to believe that, But I believe it is possible because he is a member of the Blackbeard Pirates. And so him rocking some sort of like Conqueror's coating on his blade as well, and just being extremely filthy with the blade is something I can most certainly see. I mean, he's just he's a menace, right? He's got that menacing energy to always has. And it's the one thing I really love about Shiryu from his introduction in Pull Down, that he has a lot of potential. And so that's definitely gonna be one of those things where if he really does pull up, I cannot wait to see what he ends up doing with that. And of course, Lafitte, man, is just... the man infiltrated the Reverie, bro. Or at the very least, where they were having that meeting with the Shichibukai in Jaya. It's like, if he could do that, he can infiltrate anywhere. And then Aokiji. I mean, that's just... come on. Let me see. Shiryu versus Zoro incoming. Oh, man, see, I should have kept reading your comment. Shiryu versus Zoro incoming. Another theory about this is that at this point, York joining Blackbeard seems a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. So, Blackbeard having... So, going back to what Recon said, Blackbeard potentially having one of the Vegapunks and Luffy having the original Stella Vegapunk is an interesting scenario. She had betrayed the Vegapunk and the Strides, so the world government betrayed her. So being with Blackbeard might solve a lot of questions. True that. Which will lead to Blackbeard getting the love fruit, and that is that's one of the things he wants the most right now, right? Now the Shanks part. First thing is he was wanting to stop Blackbeard, and Green Bull took the stray, I guess. Yep, that was pretty accurate. Surprised at the look of Blackbeard that he did not meet Luffy and Shanks and met Law. Now for Kid, I think it's his Sabaody who returned stronger. Copium. The Victoria Punk literally made me sad. Yeah, for real, right? It's like Strides losing Mary, exactly. Also the connection they have with the ship is too cool, as we saw in the SBS flashback. One thing from this chapter that has been skipped a lot is York said not to destroy a part of a lab. What part is it? Yes, that is a very good point. We have not really talked about that. And what is there? Is it the Kuma room? Is it something more than Kuma's memories? That's a very interesting question, because we all want to think it's the Kuma room, but what about if it's not the Kuma room? Because not a single S unit has attacked that part. I did a part for rereads, I realized two things. First, Panicky Purudu is from the Burgais Pirates. And that's what we read in the chapter. And the thing is, Cavendish is the prince of the Burgais kingdom. So we're continuing to establish the connections between the Grand Fleet and Shanks' crew. Because we know that that's going to come into play at some point in time, especially what Bartolomeo did, right? So any connection there, second, the dialogue between Dory and Broggy is almost parallel to Shanks' dialogue. You're putting your life on the line by putting a gun. It's not safe to do that. Yes, 100%. That definitely was intentional. Huge comment, sorry, Goat on. Are you good, man? I'm waiting to see some awesome theories and share some of my thoughts. There's been some great theories in this one. Have a nice day and keep being awesome. The great week will be hard, but looking forward to some reactions and collabs. Absolutely, Subra. Thank you very much for that, brother. So many awesome comments in this one, man. A massive thank you to everybody who came out and commented their thoughts, and I apologize to everybody that I was not able to get to. I got to as many as I could, and in the time span available to me, as well as within the topics that we went in on this and this Afterthoughts, because there was so much to talk about in regards to Shanks and Blackbeard and the future of Egghead, Kid's future, Kuzan, and all the craziness that could happen there, the Egghead incident. So much there that the amount of comments were seemingly endless, and it's like, for a chapter like this, how could they not be? How could they not be? And so, massive thank you once again to everybody who showed out, and thank you for watching this far, man. This has been the Afterthoughts. I just still can't get over the craziness in this chapter. Shanks just shining bright for everyone. Now you feel like number one, you know, and I cannot wait to see what he does next, where he goes next. Will it be Lodestar? Will it be Egghead? Because now the world is going to be looking at Shanks' next move, just like we're all going to be anticipating Blackbeard's next move. Because who knows, man? No one knows. If there's anything the Final Saga has shown me so far, we have no idea of what is truly going to take place until it happens. It is so unpredictable right now, and that's what makes it so exciting. So, Egghead greatness. My boy Shanks going up in like somewhere. Blackbeard is pulling up, and whether it's him or not, it's just so much intrigue, man. I will see y'all. Take care. Kuzan as well, bro. Like, the York stuff. Egghead's going crazy. Kuma flashback. Bonnie is like, so much. Luffy and Lucci are fighting together. There's just so much, man. Sanji, then all the Seraphim fights right now, it's wild, man. Egghead is going crazy, but Divine Departure, Shanks, Peak Fiction, Raw Fire and Peak, man. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching. It's Shanks, man.